Hello, America. In Connecticut, last chance. In New York City, please help. Again, this is part of the game, /gaming system, /S. I tell best boxing regarding the cartoon version of New York. And of the section of it I described, the subsection of it, with the game /S, for example, leak down and trickle sideways, and mean stack, and pantheism games. This is a science about the identity of volume that generated life, which demonstrably is that which generated matter, which demonstrably is that which generated gases, which demonstrably is that which is an identity of value /value progression that is distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously in demonstration to us all ways, as to how it is one identity of volume that only increases, and where and how it is making more of itself, and if it's simultaneously positive and negative relationship to the phenomenon of a little bit more of itself as a semi-nature of its complete nature system coming through. It has the phenomenon of an ulterior from actually, but it's still its own. But see, we are an ulterior from that too, and from its own too. Self-valued identity of negative value nature progression. It is nature, its identity. Nature is a simultaneous relationship to what is positive and negative, to its identity of value progression, perfect. See, the ancients were led by the perfect world, the identity that inventions work or not in relationship, they are positive or not in relationship to it. And that is in relationship to a science, and as a science that is also discernibly, with prayer as another use of it scientifically, regarding to other invisible but still discernible identities of volume as nature /nature as value. This is English was revealed to teach this, for example. Anything discernible like sequence nature. It also has discernibly tied to it where that is the extent of its identity, and when that is the extent of its identity, it is negative value nature, sequence nature. Everything is only simultaneous nature. It's this science. So we have a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method. And now these are people that are from Wethersfield, Connecticut, interbranch, intercampuses. Recorded too. It's nothing personal. They needed to pretend it's personal because they have complete strangers and people I only know through this connected, recorded, involved with a database is oriented, but it's from off campuses maintained further and further on off as a Predicate Acts Delivery System method rule. It's a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method. But it's worse and worse because it's consolidated from off campuses. They have investigators, investigations, and vetting identities with uses of every street since before anyone was born. As victims to all that's involved with it, invested as needs natures, invested to reactions of it and into defenses of premises treatments, themselves locked in, that everyone simultaneously can't afford correlation natures, simultaneously inherent active and progressive means, and with sequence true. There are two other identities of sequence /simultaneous nature that are simultaneously inseparable while they won't juxtapose. And where and how all that is in demonstration of where we came from. Actually, this is why the cell wall, cell nucleus, cell body are manifest in demonstration of this identity of value /value progression, invisible but still discernible, the sequence nature /simultaneous nature. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a police force, I'm not a criminal. Interbranch, the identities of each branch. And then what do they have to do when they're involved with this Predicate Acts Delivery System method where the Predicate Acts are completely fact-treating nature-oriented? That is extended, however. So roles pretending other, they got much worse because that's how they were used remotely. All the people involved with that breaching method entrenched here since before our founding parents were born. Sickly distinctly, tactically sickly distinctly, in the north and in the south. The fake sides on the surface, that's truth, /S. Each one of those truths were used for lies. For example, people want to debate that instead of letting told by mandated law the proofs of it. Instead of letting being used logic without criminal foreign influences. Passions and emotions are behavior not lied about. So we have this is an identity thefts, frauds, and worse than war crimes method. They have self-valued by the all identity ground locations tied to this vertical and horizontal database organized crime method, which is also relevant because there are further wire crimes and wire crime methods recorded being used by the branches of government individually grouped and together. For example, while simultaneously recorded criminally, pretending that people make conspiracy theories and stacking audio and video against people in courts each day and people with police departments each day. These are other natures of police departments and all the nation's police. This is relevant to when we talk, they're lying about what we say and say because they have no means to counter what they need to counter that are peaceful, that are not simultaneously, insidiously, and / overtly in collusion with that originally and still. All simultaneously, insidiously, overtly, criminally foreign influence, identity of the ground, location, sciences, database relationships, private, all database relationships, campuses. Further and further, lie progressions to all position, identity of the ground, locations. Uses of fact, cheaping nature styles, using other people's names. And debates about that's recorded. We have precedents and statutes recorded criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought. We have the experts on mental health care recorded with racketeering methods with the various natures of courts, pretending passions and emotions because they have to have people who are relying upon the, they have to be able to trust doctors, but they have organized crime rules. Then these are fact cheaping nature racket. They're also tied to body dumping spots and child offenders and drug crimes roles as victims, coached as their sensibilities, like people on my street involved with investigations and vetting identities associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskins, co-defendants with the House /S that went to school with his daughters, or the daughter of one of his federal criminal co-defendants, and is associated with a whole bunch of other kids that went to my schools, even ones that he didn't go to. They have connected roles with predicate acts that they don't even realize themselves too, because how they're using people's names. They have been worse than starting fights and lying about people's behavior while fabricated audio and video with Connecticut interbranch locations. Per their roles recorded with all locations have been used criminally by them leading up to the World Trade Center attack. Per this method that was here since before anyone was born. It's clear as day. But to discern it, you have to discern it of the evil through the evil of others. So you have to be able to talk about facts and premises treatment's true and sequence nature's true. This is also where and how we need forgiveness, because they won't, their roles with keeping everyone fake and pretending other, down to the finite. So there are proofs, for example. So this is why and how people haven't just been able to use anger to demonstrate the organized crime methods, maybe recorded, bonded with other natures of organized crime and crime groups. But they are recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive lies together, and styles of it, and identity thefts, frauds, and worse than war crimes roles as victims. But see, we have people making fights between people because the interbranch, individually grouped and together, are hiding how they are used as fact for this fact cheaping nature spine of all other natures of evil. This is what has them. They recorded pretending people speak bad about others when they are attaching us to fake conversations. All exceptions nature recorded used for predicate acts roles. It's all right if they want to deny this, then have them pick one name in sequence, because this is also part of the organized crime acts methods of Connecticut interbranch. Individually grouped together, they forge names and switch names. They also have their roles with investigators, investigations, and vetting identities on my street, involved with the witness protection program, stewards, and relevant the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people on and off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices associated with Enzo Faenza, and people on and off WFSB, and on and off Fox Connecticut News and buildings next to them, involved with relevant predicate acts, and with people on the child sex offender registry and their family members, real or made up, also recorded further involved natures of abuses of each age of fact-treating nature, and their roles with foreign and domestic, legitimately and not here or there, everywhere, to use in the same ancient trap using identity. They never had integrity here or there, again, as victims, but blaming other things, others themselves for it. Those with the Weathersfield Library, the school next to it, all the other campuses in town, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated further involved with more people on the sex offender registry who are involved with the recorded wire crime methods, mail crime methods, and predicate acts on my street relevant to it, and their crime methods of preventing this from being reported. Weathersfield police are recorded threatening to keep fabricating fake quotes and fake recorded audio and video and attaching me and people I know to fake locations. They do this to a whole bunch of people of each age of factory nature. Put us to fake locations, fake ties to other people, because they've been using people where they were like a Michael Levine. There are proofs. I never had any conversation, anything to do with him. There are proofs that they took a picture of me near him when I was a kid, because that's one of the people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by one of the child offenders, proven afterwards anyway, on a campus, involved with interbranch family members, with abuses of kids. As people involved with these doctors' cliques, also with them, with what brought that up to me. So they've been using wire crimes with the campuses where they're putting fake audio and video and putting fake quotes to prevent people from reporting things. Now these are people also recorded involved with now you could discern this. You could learn about computers this way, because this is a database organized crime since before computers. This is a sorting method. I never had a class with a Mr. Johnson when I was in grammar school, but he was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by another person that was in my grade and had a brother in another grade. These are O'Brien families associated with interbranch already through administrations, with the people that are now involved with juxtaposed. This is also regarding all these people tied to downtown Hartford and on off Fox Connecticut News that are involved with hiding lie progressions tied to their roles with predicate acts and with the predicate acts delivery system method. So since founding drums, distinctly and non-distinctly, if you're black or white, you could discern that the breaching method employed that, and that it's not natural. No one wanted that, and no one denied what is associated with that now. And the people that are denying it, like the people who call themselves successful offensively, it is as victims, employed for other needs and motivations, natures, interests. Tactically, everyone speaking through other, you having been criminally influenced. So we're going to examine, there was a 2006 case, for example, with the people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles with predicate acts through each of the campuses I went to in life, with the actors involved with that. And it's nothing personal. These are victims from off campuses having been influenced to this. This is what is actually recorded. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, since before Robert Comey spoke and got them further and further grounded, sequence shift predicate acts delivery system method /S roles. Now they can't afford correlation nature. They have been using with other nations conspiracy theories. They've been pretending people have mental diagnosis by forging names, switching names, fabricating whole conversations with them. They have also on-off buildings, so we need a response from the Fox. They keep their crime predators using like a zone defense. Everyone forced to speak to others, and they're criminally dishonest and about positive and negative. Criminal insidiousness natures of positive that they're using for recursion of that. By their roles with this sustained from off campuses, further on off them, influenced, invested, needed to hide sequence shift roles and such self-valued further and further by taking part with worse than knave investigators and vetting identities with the actually recorded uses. So we have a whole bunch of other FBI and CIA and judges and their family members. Also with locations. I never had a conversation in my life with a kid who had sure, everyone's a great person. And I know this person was a good person. I mean, I have no problem. I never saw him around. I don't know. The one time, the only reason I remember his face, someone told me his face, someone showed his, like from a distance, where they know when people are going to communicate and when they're not. Because these are people with on-off campuses. You listen to what I'm saying to you. You can discern this. So my name is Anthony Wall. I was born to the windy skyline of 1974. And then came the windy skyline of 1975. And then came the windy skyline of 1976. And then of the 1970, that was also of the 1976 academic year, the fall semester, but I was yet only 3, so I wasn't in school. The next year, so 1974 to 1975, 1975 to 1976, 1976 to 1977. So the next year, 1978, I was 4 years old in the my first year of Montessori school, great school, no complaints. There are complaints about every campus that has nothing to do with anybody's fault. See, but when people make opinion natures, and then they want to debate, they're self-valuing sequence shifts and way worse. Those are all illusions. They're self-valuing premises treatments in relationship to where and how. That this breaching method came into our sciences, came into our identity, humanity, that we know distinctly and non-distinctly is not wanted by our identity of has nothing to do with prejudice. And it has nothing to do where and how everyone's a knave, fact treatment nature style. If we had one person that actually was honestly a true always, not denying exceptions in exception nature, it would demonstrate the identity that answers how to reveal means from nowhere, evolution's fruits and gifts. This uses ground note with no criminal foreign influences. The rest of nature, no, but through us. So what we need to do is to admit our fact treatment nature as value value as nature, capable of affording mandated law to someone like me, who's going to show you this, how these are the people involved with the World Trade Center and with as victims, but we're how defended their opinions, for example, in relationship to strangers like myself and the ones who will pretend other. They were recorded also having used Trinity College and CCSU for election crimes, all kinds of crimes, the same things they need to pretend to be against. The courts, the executive branch, and the political families that distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, how they were or are used remotely. All from all identity of the ground locations. Further and further into collusion with it. And as collusion with it. As self-defenses of premises treatments because it wasn't caused by anybody else. And where that is not true, the exception is the exception that by the time they realize that, they're already needed to hide lie progressions for how it is also a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method. So the only exception we went in one day to this guy's class who had other people in my grade, but they were another class all day. And that's one of the people with one of the O'Brien brothers, Tim O'Brien, also involved with dozens of people at CCSU and Trinity College. He demonstrated with others who are involved in his roles with them, with the connected, relevant now because there are more child offenders then and now with the principal child offenders campus. I called up catching worse then and now. Actually recorded, they hid that by fabricating audio and video. That was partially found out about off campus anyway. Now this is also relevant to a Mike Levine, who is also recorded, confessed, to demonstrate these are people with intercities campuses of each age and nature. Inter-campuses, inter-everything, and intra-campuses is also recorded. Now there are a whole bunch of people with a fire department, for example, on West and next to Trinity College, who were recorded, confessed, to demonstrate involved with the investigators' investigations and vetting identities. Roles also with the wire crime methods that are relevant to shootings across America. And their roles with the media and the messaging. They have words like messaging, where the science is individually grouped and together. They are effectively maintained identity of the grounds. Criminally foreign influence, that's self-value. That's an identity that's self-value simultaneously. Criminal and ceaseless natures of positive. And of fake righteous justice negative as opinions. And rightfully, but blaming on other things others themselves wrongly. For example, prejudice. That separates the ability for correlation nature to demonstrate what is actually recorded. True always, not denying exceptions as exception is exception nature. Which is that and how? A predicate acts delivery system method /S is the one method that does effectively, easily maintain self-valued roles with identity of the ground ties to our formal fact treatment nature, propagated incapable of defending that in ourselves from what kept and keeps all identity of the ground locations simultaneously insidiously and simultaneously overtly, and a little worse than that, effectively maintained in collusion with itself, effectively maintained self-valuing, so the uses of others' names, wants and needs to keep seeking positives value progression by ignoring the perfect world forsaken. For example, not by accident, same people needed to pretend other, offensively self-valuing, knew that was that. That's how they used them remotely. These aren't, now see, they're preventing and we're preventing mandated law. Weathersfield Police, before this new Sullivan guy just recently called me, no, during the coronavirus, they were already involved for a number of years, forcing sustained abuses of kids, of juxtaposed natures. They also have the women interbranch, women judges, women prosecutors, the state's attorneys. They have their roles with the all the people with the places. Everyone speaking to other the way they do, statutes and precedents criminally foreign influence, used as breaching screens, tools, and weapons. Worse than that. Originally and still, this is what American history is about. A predicate acts delivery system method /S, where everyone was methods of liars, invested to self-defenses of that. per sick method. Now see, when you think about it like that, you're using logic without criminally foreign influence premises treatment self-value, using a free identity, using correlation nature. You're saying what is true always, but not denying exceptions. And while as the identity of exceptions and truth at the same time, what is really reality and what really causes evolution's fruits and gifts. And doesn't deny exceptions, exception nature, which these market positions, tactical ulterior from large, the world with all sick. Not by accident, we're in a semi-ancient trap that came since before modern nations, religions, leaders. We have offensively takes on religions used to pretend legitimacy towards positive and negative. So when people try to get their rights to use, like where you could say, so the right to use their life, they say I don't believe in that religiously. They'll call you a conspiracy theorist, or they'll say you have physical delusions. The people with the physical delusions, the people with the wire crime acts methods, dozens and dozens of people associated with Harvard campuses, even medical, for example, from Wethersfield into Branch, on off their offices into Branch in Connecticut too, and military are associated with the Dillon family, my new and past neighbors, involved with a vertical and horizontal organized crime method that they don't themselves understand. In whatever extent they understand to, they need to hide life aggressions. For example, as victims. Now they're trying to start fights because they're keeping them as victim predators, everyone forced to speak to other while they're fabricating audio and video with the Wethersfield police, with dozens of people tied to a Brendan Leahy and his father, Brendan Leahy, and a bunch of brothers and women in their family with medical racketeering, with Harford's triage, also with former director of the FBI's co-defendants and self, and his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet. Robert Luskin is former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. His lawyer is Robert Chevrolet, which is down from the street from the Harry Beecher Stowe house, right next to the Mark Twain house. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with all the programs on and off campuses with Central Connecticut State University and with Trinity College, involved with the Predicate Acts delivery system method, clear as day, is night, and simultaneously / and night is day. But we'll get to this. We'll get to what is it, who has integrity. See, we have 3 times Harford Hospital. It's simple, clear as day. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated. They faked conversations with me that weren't at all. Whole fake quotes and fake. They didn't even approach me with things like questions, like they did the 2 second times they forced me there, because I caught them rolls, and I had to raise my voice. They had to lie about that. I knew they would have to lie about that. You can't record the police. But they recorded themselves involved since I was in grammar school with people connected with predicate acts actually recorded. It means to discern this using correlation. As the people involved on and off the World Trade Center attack locations like the Ninth Circuit Court that are further involved with predicate acts on and off Central Connecticut State University, on and off Manchester locations, on and off intercities locations that are involved leading up to the World Trade Center attack. In those contexts, they simultaneously, insidiously, and / overtly post-dated documents to appear late, ones that had been later proven had been handed in on time to the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center attack towers. Right before the attack, they showed them those post-dated to appear late, as if they'd been handed in late papers to the Ninth Circuit. There were more people involved with that are recorded involved with predicate acts with the defense and the people tied to the defense that were and people tied to the witnesses of the some of the witnesses and people associated with, people associated with the witnesses of the plaintiff. And now those are also the people with the Scalora family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the Manhattan locations, involved also with various natures of agencies and police forms and overt criminal enterprises, who are crime roles with the same house/S, further involved with their extended family members with what I caught them doing with the kids. The same ones and families were involved with crimes with elderly homes that are used to invest them for how they're being used with various natures of courts, too. Simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, with crime methods recorded. Their roles with what they call justice, they pretend that justice is positive, criminally. See how they have people that went all that time in jail? Oh, but then justice came. They couldn't use the phone. All exception nature were in demonstration of how also recorded since before people were put away innocent and not. Those courts and those prison locations, like Sandy Hook, is recorded and involved with all kinds of natures of organized crime with little kids, with courts, and with this people tied to this O'Brien family, and with these methods that use the extended family members of people for their organized crime method, and their crime methods where they attach people that are around you, even your family members, attach you to fake words with them, and they attach them to fake words with you. All exception nature and demonstration of their roles, again, with the subject being the predicate acts that they are pretending they don't realize, and their crime methods of everyone speaking through other, and they say, oh, we're just speaking about this subject, leave out that stuff, criminally, so they can keep interbranch fabricating more faked audio and video, attaching me and others to fake locations more, fake ties to other people. So they have Megyn Kelly is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also involved with as victim, who had to react to it, and then they're investing her to defenses of it, where she can't follow mandated law, but she had and pretending needing to hide that is only about that. They're preventing demonstration. They're preventing mandated law. For example, their roles with elections crimes, Wethersfield town offices, in houses in Wethersfield near the community center. Through time involved with the actually recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. All uses of investigators, and vetting identities originally and still. Preventing all that is discernible regarding the answers to our questions from our short words and from our long words. So follow mandated law, because since I was a kid in grammar school, there are people tied to a Sullivan family that are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated tied to a Cololo family that has a Phil Cololo, and it has a Scalora family with various natures and agencies, judges, and prosecutors, and foreign and domestic medical families, and overt criminal enterprises involved with them with predicate acts intercities, also with wire crime roles, identity thefts, frauds. Just because he's my neighbor too. Don't pretend I know his cousins, because the only context I know them in are what is actually recorded, other than the, quote, intelligence community, unquote, is pretending is intelligence. This is clear as day, the vertical and horizontal database organized crime. So when I went to this Johnson guy's class, we're going to examine the different campuses I went to and how the intra campuses maintained. A former Mayor Gold and a Debbie Gold and a Lee Gold I never met. And I barely know her. I only know her in context where she was recorded, confessed, demonstrated roles with vertical and horizontal database organized crime method, and with a recursion method that is using insidious natures of positive treatments to per their roles also with the identity racketeering, and with these games with like mayors and judges and prosecutors and all natures of politicians, how used with this inter-campuses and intra-campuses further and further to all identity of the ground locations originally still. The trap, set up since before cars, since before our founding parents were born. These are also people all along the route on Church Street, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and involved with the narratives with the predicate acts on and off my street, and various natures of industries also like real estate companies, also involved with because of the crime methods of the courts and of the police forms grouped and together, and with houses on Church Street, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and involved with the ones with my neighbors, new and past, and recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by Wethersfield Police and by the courts involved with my new and past neighbors. Predicate acts on each of the campuses I went to through other people also. And their roles with this, with untimely deaths, real or made up, on Trinity College, with my new and past neighbors on and off the Trinity College involved. There was a Zano family I barely know of. I only know that in the context where there was database racketeering involved, and where there were lie progression. I barely know. I never had a class with him. Never sat around him. All exceptions, exceptionation, demonstrations. These are people tied to the friends of the house. Like there's a John Miano, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with New Britain Superior Court. Dozens of people from the Britain Superior Court are involved with Wethersfield Interbranch on off their locations. So they have a Sullivan guy playing punk games on the phone, and they have judges of various natures of courts in the background already criminally involved with sequence shifts. Since before the World Trade Center attack, I've been asking in a straight line to report that intercities recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involve intercampuses, intercities, all tied to the same house/S and people tied to them. Now these are people also with my new my town's past police chief for years and his family member, also involved with predicate acts that are fact-cheating nature oriented, wire crimes oriented, and their roles with attaching little kids and their family members to fake words, fake locations through time, fake recorded audio and video, and then all they have actually recorded and confessed. Like in other words, nothing. When you see we're walking by people that these are people they were recorded needing to pretend that I know them, like Rick Sion Faglione. And we're involved with New Britain Superior Court, other natures of courts, leading up to the World Trade Center attack, in the Trade Center attack context, and other cases where they had more sequence shifts and predicate acts on and off the interbranch locations with the same people, like Officer Magnanos from East Hartford, and someone else I don't know the name of, and another officer who pretended he mixed himself in with that and pretended he was an arresting officer of me. Detective Samuda, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with abuses of girls, because he's involved with medical racketeering with various natures. He confessed and recorded roles with medical racketeering where he pretended I was in a hospital, forced there, and that he was involved with, and criminally. And with his involvements with the Britain Superior Court, and then their roles with falsified police reports with him, and his roles with wire crimes with them, and mail crimes, and people with the prisons tied to them also, with the same house tied to other houses in my area also involved with them, with interbranch, and prison cliques, and the campuses, with the foreign and domestic, maintain criminal roles with a vertical, horizontal, again, recursion and correlation racketeering method. Much worse than that. But it's just a simple predicate acts delivery system method that has them methods of liars, needs, natures. They have all that is involved with Town Line Drive, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with Mike Levine too, and identity thefts. There's a guy, I never saw anyone who looked like Zab Judah. That means this is, I'm not to say how they say, oh, black people look like, they try to keep fake sides. to keep that self-defended. Oh, that's just like, well, that's just opinions. So I'm needing to report child offenders, medical racketeering, methods, whole methods and natures, dozens of names, various natures of courts and police involved recorded with predicate acts with them, fabricating audio and video, forging names, switching names. These are the people that are supposed to be against things they pretend to be for on TV, like for countering people who have problems with drugs. These people are making up lies about people with drugs. These people are all kinds of right where we need defenses, where they have the elements of evil. That's where they use it too. So this Leahy guy has been in the background with prosecutors. Like there's people associated with and as a Brian Silver I never had a conversation with, but he's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with other prosecutors. Also with this Mayano family with sequence shifts and other natures of predicate acts roles with them. On and off campuses I went to, inter-campuses and inter-campuses. And those are sequence shifts. I didn't know him till my class graduated. Right before. And so he used to hang around, like these are people that used to hang around with my neighbor, where they were putting me into fake locations, fake sequence relationships with whole groups. And they recorded, confessed people I barely know. I only know that after they graduated and stuff. And all exception nature and demonstrated on and off Two-Rod Highway are also people associated with the predicate acts on my street. For example, in Wethersfield. Now this is Wethersfield interbranch, intercities, intercampuses, intra-campuses, and there are houses next to the schools. And with the corners that are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated having been used by the investigators' investigations and vetting identities. For example, all the Department of Homeland Security is also recorded with worse than criminal incompetence and roles with these people, with the names I'll give you, because we have to have a response for them. They're in the background pretending passions and emotions because they're sequence chefs roles. They don't want their names used. That's lie. That's truth. But they're attaching lies to it. They sought me out to confess this, demonstrate this, and record this. For juxtaposed motivations, natures, needs, interests, real, but they were also juxtaposed worse. And not for what they were pretending. And so what we need to have is mandated law followed. The Wethersfield police are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated threatening me to make up for more fabricated audio and video, to attach me and all around me and other people to fake locations, fake words, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, intercampuses and intra-campuses. So we're going to examine a 2006 case that had former director of the FBI in it, Robert Luskin. That's also involved with these houses and people with the crimes that are also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved crimes with forensics locations involved with the transition from ARCA to RICO, and with them with overt criminal enterprises. Also, various natures of overt criminal enterprises recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive lies, with the witness protection programs, uses of them, and roles with them with wire crimes, like an Officer Jerry Miller that he's involved with. Also with the Wethersfield police, fabricating on with these two Mendez police, interbranch, predicate acts, attaching me to fake locations, fake ties to themselves, fake need on and off the police department, fake recorded audio and video, fake quotes. They on and off the New Britain Superior Court, they're also involved with that. And inter-campuses. These are people that I didn't have in my campus, in my grade. And these are people they have people in the same grade. They've been using that for fact-cheating nature racketeering, per their identity racketeering. They have no integrity, and they've been making up stuff and worse, and valuing roles with that. The departments, since before they moved it, since before they were born, that was used remotely. So, New York City, there's a pattern of WFSB and Fox Connecticut News are already also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with wire crime methods and time crime methods, where they force sustained roles with predicate acts, like they attach me to fake words, fake relationships to others, even fake ties to doctors. They even attached my family to fake that. My family made no comment. They pretend that's because they're mad because they're pretending passions, emotions. Because people want to make or they want to cooperate with us. Before they did that, they were already recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts relevant here, and with the people involved with that. That's nothing personal. They need to pretend passions and emotions because they're predicate acts with the courts and with the police forms distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. They're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the intercities, intermilitary, foreign and domestic involved with this. They also have a place in Rocky Hill all along Route 3 that is on and off the state judicial branch offices with these fianzas. Also involved with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso. Also involved with his roles with the stewards of the witness protection program, with the predicate acts on my street, with the Dillon family, and with the houses and with the locations next to the Fox Connecticut News in the buildings of downtown Hartford, and involved with the houses on my street, involved with them, and on 2 Route Highway, and the houses next to the state judicial branch offices. Again, all along that route that goes by there too, Route 3, right through cities, and the roles with locations in Glastonbury right there through time. Same ones involved with child campuses, child prisons, and doctors associated with that. And alternatives to them with groups that were also used, recorded criminally and stuff like this with this. Not just criminally. These are the people that use the words criminal and stuff. Well, let's have the court find out. They're fabricating audio and video. That's what's recorded. So we need federal stewardships of Connecticut. And we need to get them from the names forging and switching. For example, the judicial branch and the executive branch, they switch names, but they do it distinctly. So we're going to examine their crime methods distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, and their uses of their identity, because they can't defend that and afford to have discerned what the short words and the long words of computers, how they must be told. For example, it's about the value/value progression and all that is about, which is more than that too, and is less than that too. See, they have this worse than obfuscated. And that's self-value. And they have the passions and emotions with it. Dishonest. So I want you to look how I looked at it since I was a kid, where everyone's lying. If you go to a school where they have slavery laws, no matter what someone says, you could discern it with their quality of fact treatment nature, their premises treatments nature, their sequence treatments, their finite, active, progressive value treatments, value/distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, because those values are simultaneously positive or not. This is evolution science. And identity too, where and how identity/S, like the cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall, they with your eyes you could discern how they're in demonstration of their shared identity/S. All the walls are in demonstration of this body of value discernment and its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that, only increasing that where everything came from. See, this is before criminal foreign influences. This system needs us to discern the difference between criminal insidiousness natures of positive and positive that is not criminal insidious nature. This system needs us, actual nature, needs actual reality, not exploiting exceptions. And exception nature needs us to discern what it will only stay. Hear many pray. Vaccines. Allah's name was revealed to teach this. With algebra, before algebra became criminally foreign influenced in semi-ancient times, before modern religions, messengers were even born. Thank God for them. That means when I say the word God, for example, through algebraic consciousness, using identity greater than it as a means to correlation. In other words, New York game. Wethersfield police recorded threatening me not to tell about their roles also since the World Trade Center attack with the investigators, investigations, and investigators. And and vetting identities, and their identities of each of the agencies, each of the branches of government, only 3, of various natures of courts, recorded them family members, all how maintain victim predators per their roles with the investigation of the victim, like a Dr. Shub has a wife, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with all these people with probate courts and with various natures of superior courts, involved with depositions also leading up to the 9/11 World Trade Center attack in Manhattan from Connecticut, intercities first, worse than interstates, worse than internation alone, criminally foreign influenced, every day. Now these are fake sites that self-value rolls with it, where they have real legitimate based businesses on paper as database relationships, in relationship to the stores and things we could discern. That has relationship further and further to all identity ground locations effectively used to maintain self-value, propagated fact-sheeping nature, quality, styles, needs, and natures. Natures like criminal insidiousness natures, wrongdoers, mass wrongdoing roles, predicate acts roles, acts like predicate acts. So we're going to examine also how lawyers are recording predicate acts roles with the judges that pretend harassment, because they've been, if you try to call back where they're fabricating they're putting fake audio and video about what is actually recorded over the wire, over the phones, per their crimes. Even again, we have women judges and prosecutors with their family members and with the other roles with the others as family members, pretending passions and emotions tied to that, using their own kids to hide their life progression roles, tied to their roles with the vertical horizontal database organized crime method. So the one time I went into the classroom, Mr. Johnson, for example, when I was in grammar school, because this is one of the actors' relevant roles with the database, organized crime method. That is also a correlation racketeer, organized against correlation nature, organized crime method, while pretending other. For the fact sheet, we have misprision identities of corruption individually grouped together, effectively having been used remotely as the only realized suit and ties and counters to them since some ancient times, since before modern nations, religions, messengers. Thank God for them. So Allah's name was revealed to teach with English. This is more plausible than their treatments of, real victim predators, overt criminal enterprises, recorded there and here in collusion with them, fake sides. Only they're kept needing to hide that this is per what really most furthers the overt criminal enterprises, clear as day recorded, what really most needs them. So we have all this knows where you have to feel good and feel bad simultaneously, sustained ways. So everything, so in other words, not by accident since founding, where the extent they made self-value, abridged, insidious nature of positive, and insidious nature of righteous justice in collusion with each other. Again, individual grouped and together, the 3 branches of government, many, many names. All campuses, identity ground locations of sciences, abridged qualities of themselves. So we're going to we're going to examine the Constitution, the first sentence of it, and as the first sentence of the Declaration of Independence. And we're going to discern the impositions on their quality of fact-treatment nature where they did and did not have free speech, while they were trying to force just the overall notion of it to be used. For example, there is a rule in Strunk and White have a book on grammar. And I believe the name of it is Elements of Style. And they have a rule of grammar where they say do not separate a series of prepositions with a comma. Now, you know another rule of grammar is separate a series with commas. Now, this is where and how exception and exception nature was exploited and is exploited. For example, in relationship to where and how the predicate act of and as the law encounters the predicate acts of and as the law, its identities, no. Its value is slash value nature is simultaneously increasing relationship to the quality of fact, treatment nature, how to do that right. Of law, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, where and how that involves where predicate discernment with English is simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously increasingly value as English, and where they share an identity. Ratiocination and pseudo-ratiocination share an identity. So we have medical families that have been forcing people to take drugs with judges. And now those people and their patients, the ones taking the drugs, they're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously involved with organized crime methods with the defense of positive and negative treatments of insidiousness, natures of positive, and of insidious natures of justice, like fake positive. Also, fake righteous negative. They're lying about negative and positive simultaneously. They're lying about identity. These are identity ground locations that are used for lipoaggression cover-up natures that are only capable of valuing all that is simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive to each individual of each identity ground location. Forbid its correlation. It's simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means by correlation what is true always as exception nature, as what is filling all identities of volume to be more and more forever nature. Only the extent of it is debatable. Who debates that is recorded with relied upon by the breaching method's logic that is so clear. I forget. I'm gonna have to make another video for the Constitution. But there are proofs that we have to. I'm not saying that our founding parents planned it this way, but you could discern the way that they made that sentence conceived. For example, without the balance of having we in the end of it too. That and how they had to change the wording of it a little bit because of the sense and sensibilities of everyone. Recorded note, they still had slavery in the North. They still had it in the South, sickly distinctly. That was the breaching method that is completely fact treatment nature oriented. That knew how to sustain rolls with that. So it could make it way beyond that. So no one could ever see that. So it could make what is clear as day. So it could make what is so easy to discern the predicate acts delivery system method that American history is really about, pretended obscure by everyone. Then they want to fight and use our names. Oh, they're conspiracy theorists. And no one ever saw anything but theorists offensively against science. There is a real science to music. Musicians will tell you. And they say, oh, but they call it music theory, it's just semantics. Or whatever they say. All differently. But all commonly too. Because no one's been demonstrating. There are semantic reasons. There are syntactic reasons While we have to have a quality of fact sheet nature that is being forbid by the people who know the most, because of the way too. They have reached